Now I will start with, how about the history of the West? So here's a really good find. I didn't think I'd ever see this. Thomas DiLorenzo, How Capitalism Saved America, The Untold History of Our Country, from the Pilgrims to the Present. So this is history, but also economics. So one of the reviews at the back says, the book is a compelling and comprehensive defense of capitalism set in the context of American history, one that shatters the prevailing myths concerning labor and social legislation, the era of the robber barons and antitrust, and the Great Depression and the New Deal. There are also some of the reviews talking about liberty, talking about private enterprise. This is a great find, and especially it is worthwhile when a lot of the rhetoric today is like anti-capitalist. That the problems of the last 6 years or 7 years since 2005 or 6 is capitalism's fault, or evil rich people, or the bankers and all these things. It's not the government's fault. No, not at all. It's always evil bankers, and it's always people that acted of their own free will, which I think is ridiculous. It is a propaganda story. Anyway, so that's one. That's a nice find. Didn't think I'd ever see that one. Here's one. This was $1, so I wouldn't normally have paid more than $1. It's called Dead Right by David Frum. It looks like a Republican kind of book. I don't know if it's going to be worth reading. It was $1, and it's in nice condition. And reminds me of Cervantes. Was it Don Quixote he wrote? Cervantes says that even if it's a terrible book, you can always find something that's good in it. Or you can always learn something from even a terrible book. So, anyways, that's on my shelf for whenever I want to flip through it. Here's America Alone by Mark Steyn. This book, I believe, was banned in Canada for a small amount of time, or maybe it was threatened to be banned. This is, Mark Steyn is very acidic writer. Probably not as acidic, probably just as acidic as Christopher Hitchens. And this is about Islam versus America, and also I imagine he'll be talking about Europe. I've heard once in a while Islamization. I don't know. I can't say it of Europe, and concessions made for Middle Eastern cultures and laws like Sharia law and things like that. And there's been a lot written of those kind of cultural warfare, right? So I imagine that's what that's going to be about. But I'm glad to have it. I'm glad to have those kind of things on my shelf, so I can see those points of view. As radical as they may be, it's worth knowing and having. It's worth knowing all those points of view. I certainly would never agree with banning books. I don't know. I can't imagine what one could write. One could put in the written word that would be horrible enough to ban. I can't think of anything. I don't know what it would have to be. Here's Aristotle's Children. How Christians, Muslims, and Jews rediscovered ancient wisdom and illuminated the Middle Ages. So you may know, this is by Richard E. Rubenstein. You may know of the Dark Ages, that it's often called, and what lit up the Dark Ages was St. Thomas Aquinas rediscovering Aristotle. So I thought that would be great, because the ancient Greeks, they are Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, they are not going away. They will never go away. How powerful have these three gentlemen been to have survived for 2,500 years? Those are powerful people. Homer, even more powerful, to survive for 2,800 years. I'm not sure when he was around. Maybe 700-800 BC, something like that. I know he was certainly before Socrates. But that is amazing. the kind of, can you imagine being remembered 2,000 years ago? That's just, it's grander than a statue. Yeah, these men have survived longer than a statue of bronze. So, anyways, very important to study these people. Aristotle's children. So, what has he produced? Well, certainly it's St. Thomas Aquinas. Here's the last one about Western culture, I guess. The wreck of Western culture. I just saw this randomly in the used bookstore. It says Humanism Revisited by John Carroll with 2 R's and 2 L's. Let me just check the year because I'm unfamiliar with this. I just like the title. This is 2008. This is recent. Let me just see what it is. Okay, so I just read the first couple pages, and it looks actually to be pretty interesting. I'll read a little bit of the preface, and you'll see what I mean. So it says, Humanism replied radically and simply to the question of what lies at the foundation of existence. It asserted that the primal principle of being is the human individual, the individual standing alone supported by powers of reason and free will. That sounds good. There is no other first cause or center of meaning. There is nothing above or beyond. I think we're being set up here, aren't we? Humanism succeeded brilliantly at the material level, propelling modern industrial civilization and its thriving, prosperous cities. It also succeeded partly in the moral sphere, contributing to the rise of the liberal democratic political system and a general acceptance in the West of universal human rights. However, its cultural consequences were ruinous. What cultural consequences? That's strange, right? This is then on the next page. It says, until we understand the full coercive logic of humanism, we are doomed to remain trapped within its consciousness. Okay, so he's still not telling us what he's talking about. I'll give you a taste of what he's talking about right here. So this is the prologue, page 1. We are desperate, yet don't care much anymore. We are timid, yet we cannot be shocked. We are inert underneath our busyness. We are destitute in our plenty. We are homeless in our own homes. Oh, there you go. It's check it out on, I don't know what Amazon says about it. It looks to be kind of like a coming out of nowhere, but I think it might be interesting to see what he has to say, what his arguments are. Okay, next I'm going to do history, because I have a book that I just got in the mail recently that's very much connected to the West.